Hi guys, I'm going to be talking to you today about copyright laws with specifically focusing on schools. So it is an American principle that whoever composes a piece of intellectual work should earn recognition and credit for their creativity. The purpose for the copyright law is that it gives protections to authors or composers by providing them legal rights to their own works, including literary works, musical works, dramatic works, and motion pictures. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of background about copyright laws, the very first copyright law was the Statute of Anna, also known as the Copyright Act, which was enacted in England in 1710. This act was the first that gave birth to the idea that an author of a work has ownership to the work's copyright. So the Copyright Act of 1790 was the first federal copyright act to be established here in the United States. Copyright legislation was not coordinated internationally until the 19th century. In 1886, the Berne Convention was introduced to give the same recognition of copyright between nation states and endorse the progress of international standards for copyright protection. They still today continue to provide the foundation for copyright laws. So teachers and students have both been familiarized with using technology to acquire information for their own work or research. Therefore, it's schools who are more susceptible to committing copyright infringements. It's essential that districts understand how technology can violate copyright and share some guidelines with their employees so that they can avoid infringement. So let's talk about fair use. This is something that many teachers rely on. It's an exception to copyright protection, and this is the part of the copyright law that supersedes the author's exclusive right so that they can duplicate and distribute their works. Teachers can use these works without needing the author's permission or paying licensing fees and royalties, which I'll go further into depth a little bit later on in this presentation. It's so important that we think about the legal standard for deciding what qualifies as fair use of a copyrighted work. Examine these 4 factors: whether the purpose and character of the use are commercial nature or are for nonprofit educational purposes. The next one is whether the nature of the copyrighted work itself is primarily factual or creative, how much of the work is used or how substantial is the part used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole. And lastly, how the use affects the author's ability to market and realize a profit from the work. Now, if a work is identified as a public domain category, they are copyright free. So under this category, the property rights have expired or been fortified by the owner or creator. So you are allowed to use the work however you'd like without any kind of permission needed. Works that are royalty free are still copyrighted. This work is paid for one time or has a subscription fee to gain access to the asset, and then you're able to use it however you like. I'm going to talk about copyright laws in school now. So in order to perform a music play, the school must seek permission from the copyright holder. This can be obtained through the American Association of Composers, Authors, and Publishers. A library may reproduce an entire published work in its collection if it is damaged, deteriorating, lost, or stolen after it has already been determined that an unused replacement cannot be obtained at a fair price. Many teachers love the ability to link sites on the internet for education. Links can be one of 2 types. So our outlinks are the ones that allow for browsers to go from the original site to another one by clicking on a display button. The second one, which is inline links, brings images, audio clips, or documents to original site from a different one. This second kind of link is also called framing, and it's a potential violation of copyright because it makes one independently created website look like part of another. Okay, so a single copy may be made of any of the following by or for a teacher at their individual request for their own scholarly research or use in teaching or preparation to teach a class. Okay, so 1, chapter from a book. 2, article from a periodical or newspaper. 3, a short story. 4, short essay or short poem. 5, chart, graph, diagram, drawing, cartoon or picture from a book. And lastly, periodical or newspaper. Multiple copies may be made also, 1 per pupil in a course. So that means 1 per student in 1 class. Multiple copies can also be made by or for the teacher giving the course for classroom use or discussion. So here's a link at the bottom. It's I wanted to provide it for you guys. I think that it's a really good quick review to look at when you are maybe not so sure of the do's and don'ts of copyright infringement. It is also provided in the outline for my presentation, so you guys can go ahead and check that site out and maybe bookmark it, because you never know, it might come in handy in the future for you. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys about 2 examples of what can happen when copyright infringements are made and copyrights are violated. One of the cases I'm talking to you guys about, it's Marcus versus Rowley. And in this case, a lawsuit was brought by a former teacher of the San Diego Unified School District who wrote a book on cake decorating. The book was copyrighted and it consisted of 35 pages. 29 of the pages of this book were original work, and 6 pages were reproduced with the permission of the copyright holders. The former public school teacher sold the book for $2 each and made $1 profit from each book. One of the defendants, a school teacher employed by the San Diego Unified School District as well, who taught food service classes, prepared a cake decorating learning activity package for use in her classes. The activity package was 24 pages long, and neither the defendant nor the school district derived any profit from the learning activity package. However, 11 of the 24 pages of the booklet were copies from the former teacher's book, and no credit was given to the former teacher. The Court of Appeals stated that even though the defendant did not profit and had a purpose for educational use, this does not automatically mean it qualifies as fair use. Also, the defendant didn't attempt to receive the teacher's permission or give credit for her work. Another case of copyright infringement was that of Kinko's Graphics Corporation. They settled a copyright infringement suit that was brought on by 8 textbooks publishers in an agreement that costed the Ventura-based copying store operator $1.9 million in damages and court costs. So the settlement follows a ruling by a federal judge that Kinko's photocopying and sale of package excerpts of books to college students infringed on the publisher's copyrights. Kinko's agreed to pay the damages and not to photocopy the so-called textbooks anthologies without first getting written permission for all copyrighted material. So in my clinical practice, after speaking with my master teacher, I learned that her school district has provided their employees with guidelines for copyright laws. She gave recommendations to me that both her and her colleagues use as resources to get images and instructional materials so that they could avoid copyright infringement. She told me about a website. It's mycutegraphics.com, and this website offers tons of clip art, which I utilized for this presentation so that you guys can see in a little sample of that website. The teachers can use this, and it's for free for personal or educational use, which is great. Teacherspayteachers.com is another great resource for teachers. This offers both free and purchasable copyrighted materials, and they have individual licenses. So it's for individual teacher use, and there's also an option on the website if you want to purchase additional licenses so that you're able to share those materials with other teachers. And lastly, the principal at this school shared with me that they always try to remind their teachers to keep in mind that the district materials or resources provided to the teachers are not to be distributed via copies to anyone outside of the district and should serve for personal and/or instructional use for employees. I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation and I hope you learned a lot. Here's a list of my references. Please feel free to check them out. There's a lot of really in-depth details of what exactly that language under the copyright laws are. So feel free to check it out. Thanks. Bye.